Hello humans, and welcome back to the Unfortunate Archives. On the very off chance that you came here thinking I'm gonna talk about your favorite characters from the Vampire Diaries books, you need to be protected and studied as the unique life form that you are, but this isn't the video for you. The rest of you normal people who came here thinking I'm gonna talk about this show, stick around. I never minded Elena, but I also didn't view her as a full character. I just thought, we were all teenagers who wanted to have hot vampires fight over us, and she was a vessel for us to inhabit. So that's why she didn't have a lot of memorable or distinct characteristics of her own. Like, what did she like besides hot vampires? Who was this girl? But when you look beyond the surface, Elena was a girl who lost her parents when she was very young, and that made her wanna step into this caring role for everyone around her, even when they didn't want that. She was also very popular and quite a kind and open-minded person, and all of this made me think about one particular book, and that was Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This book follows the Rivas family, which is made up of 4 siblings, and every year they throw this huge party in Malibu where everyone wants an invite. However, this year each of the 4 has a revelation at the party, which means lots of family secrets come up and a lot of drama ensues. The reason I picked this book in particular is because the eldest sibling Nina has had to step up and take on a carer role for her younger siblings when she was just a teenager herself. And now she's grown up to be a very caring, kind and forgiving person, sometimes to her own detriment, and that gives off very strong Elena vibes. So I think if Elena was your favorite character, you'd probably enjoy reading about Nina as well. And the fact that her name is Nina is just a happy coincidence. That being said, I also think you can probably walk into your closest bookstore, close your eyes and spin around, just point, and you'll probably land on a book where there is a brown-haired teenage girl with very hot supernatural love interests. So if you don't feel like reading Malibu Rising, that's also another option. Now, if Katherine's your favorite character, you have a taste for angry women, for unapologetically putting yourself first, and for an unflinching desire to survive. In other words, you're someone after my own heart, and you probably don't care about that fact in the slightest. But regardless, you get the best book in this entire video, which is A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. This is a very short book that's written like a letter to an unnamed vampire, Dracula, from his first wife, Constanta. And we find out pretty immediately that this vampire is dead and that Constanta is writing this to explain why she murdered him. So it grabs you from the very beginning. The writing is absolutely gorgeous. It's some of the best prose I've ever come across. And it features queer polyamorous vampires, which is totally Katherine's vibe. At its heart, though, more than a vampire story, this is a story about abusive relationships. Of course, Katherine wasn't a stranger to toxic relationships, having experienced them from both sides. But Katherine was also a character who would do absolutely anything to survive. So I think she'd really understand and respect the main character in this, Constanta, for sharing that same drive. And if Katherine was your favorite character, so will you. If Caroline's your favorite character, you probably like girls who wear dresses and florals and get their nails done, but also kick ass whenever they need to. I'm thinking Legally Blonde, which isn't my vibe, but I respect it. And I think you'll really like Bright Young Women by Jessica Knoll. This book begins in the 70s when a serial killer attacks a sorority and ends up killing multiple women. And we mainly follow the president of the sorority, Pamela, who is the only person who sees this man and survives. So she meets another woman who lost her girlfriend to the same serial killer, And together they set out to get justice. However, we follow them across the years as the legal system repeatedly fails them and refuses to take them seriously because they're young women. And as they're faced with the fact that the media and people choose to glamorize this man who murdered multiple women across the country. This book is inspired by real events, and it's a critique of how society makes celebrities out of serial killers. The name actually comes from a judge who famously called a serial killer a bright young man. So it can be quite infuriating to read, and it does a really good job of showing how a capable, intelligent woman like Pamela constantly gets ignored or belittled because she's a sorority girl. So I can just see her and Caroline bonding over that and being really good friends. And I think if Caroline was your favorite character, you'll enjoy reading this story as well. If Bonnie was your favorite character, you really went through a lot across the series. I commend you. That girl was just ready to sacrifice herself at the drop of a hat. Like, talk about the antithesis to Katherine. But I think you'll really like The Unmaking of June Farrow by Adrienne Young. This book follows June, who comes from a long line of Farrow women who, for some unknown reason, all go insane at some point in their lives. So June has decided that she's going to be the one to break this curse by staying single and childless, which is pretty selfless of her, very Bonnie. However, she gets a mysterious note from her dead grandmother that lets her know there is more to this family curse than she thought, and that maybe she can get her happy ending after all. This book has a little bit of everything: romance, historical fiction, murder, mystery, and magic. It doesn't include witchcraft, but it just gives a very strong, witchy, small-town farmer life vibes. It also includes a line of women with powers and a smart and selfless main character. So it just gives me Bonnie, you know? Alternatively, though, you can also try the widely beloved The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. This one also includes a loving, lonely witch, small town vibes, cozy magic, and a found family. I actually don't really like this book because I found it a bit too just sweet and happy for my taste, but so many people do. So many people love this. And I think if you followed Bonnie across the series, you've gone through enough pain, so you deserve to read something that's this level of happy, you know? So try one of those two. So Stefan's your favorite character. Why? Stefan in the books, I get. Paul Weasley, I get. Stefan in the show is just boring. Look, no, don't hate me. I can understand that you probably like good people. I just can't relate, you know? We're very different people, you and I. But I respect you. And I have a book for you that's about a very good young man who is nonetheless filled with self-loathing and guilt, which I think is Stefan's brand, let's be honest. You should read Hello Beautiful by Anne Napolitano. This book follows William, who is a very emotionally neglected young man whose only source of identity is playing basketball. When he's in college, he meets this ambitious type A girl, Julia, and she comes from a family with 4 sisters, which is very warm and close-knit, and that really draws William in. However, when an injury stops William from playing basketball, all of his self-loathing and self-doubt come to the surface and threaten not just his relationship with Julia, but also has an impact on Julia's family. Not only does William's character remind me a lot of Stefan because of his internal struggles, I also think you're probably drawn to characters who try really hard to make the morally right decisions and be good people, even in the face of a lot of external and internal barriers. So I think you'll enjoy this book. There is also something else about the relationship dynamics in this book that's very reminiscent of the Vampire Diaries, but I can't really say what it is without it being a spoiler, so you just have to trust me on this one.
Hello, brother.
So, if Damon's your favorite character, you're correct, but let's manage expectations, right? I can't give you Ian Somerhalder wrapped up in the pages of a book. And to be honest, I'm not sure I would have even if I could. Now that we've settled that, you might think that you can just take any of the powerful and handsome book talk boyfriends and you have a good match for Damon, but no. Let me tell you, Damon was brooding at times, and he was a classic case of I will burn the world down to make you feel safe and all that. But he was also very funny, and none of these other boys are funny. They all just take themselves so seriously. And trust me, I did research for this video. I read multiple new books that were meant to give off Damon vibes, and they never did. None of them did. What are you doing, authors? I know in real life, the super attractive people aren't necessarily the ones with the best senses of humor. They just probably never needed to develop humor as a way to earn others' affections. But this is fiction. Why can't we have gorgeous people who are also hilarious? I don't know. Why? Writers just don't give us that. But you know who does give us that? Fan fiction writers. So just stay with me. If you like Damon, I really think you'd enjoy Draco Malfoy and the mortifying ordeals of being in love. This story takes place years after the events of the Harry Potter books, minus the epilogue. And here, Hermione has now become a badass researcher, and she's recently made a discovery that has the potential to make some people really angry. And Draco is an Auror who's been reluctantly assigned to keep her safe. I realize for this recommendation to work, you need to be a Harry Potter fan as well as a Vampire Diaries fan, but I don't think it's that rare of a combination. So if you are, just trust me when I tell you that Draco's character in this fic is the most reminiscent of Damon that I've read. He isn't quite as morally grey, but he obviously has a dark past. He's handsome, dangerous, charismatic, and very funny, but he becomes a cinnamon roll around his love interest, which is very Damon. This also happens to be one of my favorite romance stories. Generally, it's extremely feel-good, the banter is top tier, and it actually has an interesting plot. So there's no reason not to give it a go. That being said, if you aren't a Harry Potter fan, or if you just don't want to read fanfiction, you're wrong. But you can try the Captive Prince series by C.S. Packet. Now, this one I'm not recommending because there is any character who is very reminiscent of Damon, but it's just something about the whole vibe of the series. The two main characters in this are very morally grey and complex. It also features a very slow burn, enemies to friends to lovers relationship. And as a whole, this story is very ethically questionable. So I just feel like Damon's fans are gonna enjoy this. I personally kind of hated the first book, but as a whole, I enjoyed this series largely despite myself, you know? So just give it a go. There you have it, friends. If Matt's your favorite character, I'm genuinely sorry. I didn't mean to ignore you. I just didn't think your kind existed. And yes, I miss the beautiful Michaelsons as much as anyone. So maybe one day we'll do another video for the originals. But for now, stay safe, wear your vervain, and maybe don't walk towards men in dark graveyards, no matter how hot they are. And I'll see you real soon. Bye bye. Like Reaper Stefan, clinical depression, it's kind of the same.